Hello, Sam. You are up next.
Hey Bart, how are you?
How's it going?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on again.
All right. So, are you playing out of Parks again here or what?
Yeah, that's right. Except I'm playing the 10-10 with the $20 mandatory straddle this time.
10-10 plus 20 at Parks. Now, this Tuesday at Parks is still their big day, right? But 10-10 still will go outside of Tuesdays, right?
Yeah, I really only play here on Saturdays during the day. The game starts maybe around noon, and then by like 10 p.m. there'll probably be three games.
And is there a buy-in cap here? There is, right? Is it 3,000 or
Yeah, it's
something?
3K.
3K buy-in. How deep are you here for this hand?
So this is a three-way pot. The MP has 3,000, the low jack has 4,000, and I have 6,000 in the strap.
All right. So, 4K to 3K effective, and you're in the straddle?
Yeah. So MP and low jack both limp in for 20.
Hmm. Interesting. MP and low jack limp. Okay.
Which not a lot of limping at this game, but there was. So I make it 100 from the straddle with ace of diamonds, king of hearts.
Ace of diamonds, king of hearts. Did any of the blinds complete?
No, and I should have made this much bigger in hindsight.
So 20, so it goes limp, limp, fold to you in the straddle, and you make it 100. I mean, what are you opening to in this game? Are people opening to 60?
I would say 50 is the more standard, but you'll see some more of the recreational players make it maybe 60, 70.
I mean, if you were opening to 60 and you added two $20 limps, it would be 100. I mean, I know you're out of position at like 150 to 200 BBs deep, but I don't think it's terrible. I mean, that's kind of a fishy play anyways, right? From an MP guy, you don't want to fold out like ace eight off or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So you go to 100, okay. Ace of diamonds, king of hearts.
Yep, and they both call.
All right, so MP. Any backstory on these guys?
MP, I would say, is a pretty good player, pretty aggressive. I've seen him make a lot of check raises and show down a bluff. The low jack was a woman who I would say was probably the one person to target in this game specifically, but no other crazy reads.
Okay. All right, so what's the flop?
The flop is king 3 with two diamonds.
King of diamonds. Does the second suit matter? I'm going to put king of clubs, three of diamonds.
Yep.
King 3 with two diamonds. Hero here with ace king raising out of the straddle in a limped pot.
I think out of position versus two players, I'm going to be doing a lot of checking. So I do decide and check my hand this time.
So hero checks. I mean, the thing I would say here is that these guys limped. I was trying to think about the chances of you coolering like a lesser king here. I mean, think about like offsuit king, but they limp called, and guys that limp in usually are going to be pretty bad, or they're not going to be the greatest players at this level. So they might limp call with like king, queen, king, jack, but those types of hands are going to bet out anyways. The only thing that I would say here is just that you're saying that you're going to be doing a lot of checking from out of position against two people. I guess one of my questions would be on this texture, number one, and number two would be these types of boards aren't the types that are usually stabbed at by like so-so to kind of weakish types of players with absolutely nothing. Like if you had raised with like ace 9 suited or ace 8 suited out of the straddle and it came out like 8-8-3, I would actually like that a little bit more. I still might bet small. And that's just because sometimes players will actually stab at those boards thinking that you've missed and they're going to try to get it off. On king high boards, like someone coming out and like trying to go crazy with like a jack 10 type of bluff on a king high board, I just don't see it, I would say, as much. Now, I mean, a case to be made if you were going to check raise a bet might be, well, I want to get more money in the pot. It's a single raise pot and look at the stack depths. If I just bet, they might just call. And now you could make that case here too. And then you also have a little bit of like what I call negative equity slow play, where if someone's got a pocket pair and they weren't going to put any more money into the pot or any more big money, and you just sort of give them free shots to hit, you might get into a situation where you lose your entire stack just by allowing some sort of free card to come off. Now, those hands might bet out here on the flop anyways if you decide to go with a check raise, but those are my thoughts.
And in hindsight, I do not like this play. I think I much prefer betting out here, but as played, I check, and the low jack bets 150.
So MP checks, low jack bets 150. I think at this point, if you played it this way, for the reasons that I stated, once you check call, I don't see many people run maniacal bluffs to try to like bluff the preflop raiser off of like jacks or queens all that much. I would be doing a lot of raising, because if the MP also has a king and is slow playing, that person's going to get in there anyways. So it's not like you're driving the MP out like if they have a king. If you just call, then again, you allow the pot to sort of remain small, and low jack just checks it back a bunch, maybe picks up some sort of equity, and you don't get more money into the pot. Now, with that being said, I assume the low jack's going to continue to bet with a king anyways, and low jack might continue to bet with diamonds here too. So I suppose, I kind of started off with, well, you have to check raise, but for those reasons, I mean, I guess I could see calling for a little bit of deception. You've got the ace of diamonds in your hand, which means no one can play the nut, no one can play that way with the nut flush draw. I just like to play big pots with big hands stylistically for the most part. But if you think that maybe check raising here might be like too strong and everyone just folds out, I suppose I could get on board with calling some of the time.
That's why I think I prefer just leading out. I think check raising makes my hand look very face up. And actually the MP, the player in the middle, like I said in the beginning of the call, he had shown a lot of aggression and shown down a bluff where he turned top pair and, check raised the river for 4K. So I thought he was pretty capable. And so I actually ended up deciding to call. But I guess I'm curious, if you were to check raise, what size would you make it to? And you were saying you expect the MP to overcall if I check raise here as well.
Well, no, I was expecting the MP's never going to fold a king. So you don't have to worry.
Even if I check raise.
Yeah, I mean, how is the MP ever going to fold a king if you just check raise? Because, I would never be in this spot, like limping in with MP, but if MP's the type of person that's going to limp call with king, queen, king, jack, king 10, and then check the flop, do you think that he's going to fold to a check raise? There's only 4 kings in the deck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I guess depends on the sizing, maybe.
And again, well, yeah, but I mean, if you make it like 500, 400-500, I just don't, the MP's never, ever going to go anywhere. You don't have to worry about losing money, I think, against a king here in this particular spot, especially if the MP has a king and checked. It's interesting what you said, the MP had been shown to be maniacal because you'd seen him show some bluffs. What I would say about that, though, is that if the MP was going to start bluffing in this hand, he'd bet the flop. So I don't know what's going to happen like behind you, but it sounded to me like part of the reason why you called is because, the MP is maniacal, but that's a weird type of line for someone maniacal, I think, to take when it goes bet call. I think the MP would just start betting once you checked as the preflop raiser. Maybe not always. But yeah, I mean, I would make it like 500-600, something like that. You get a call, then the pot is all of a sudden, you get one call, the pot's going to be like 1,500, and you guys would have like, 24-ish left. Well, you actually be deeper at the low jack too. But I mean, that's what I would do. So again, I like leading, I would say mostly on the flop. I probably check raise here quite a bit, although you have the ace of diamonds in your hand. Maybe if you wanted to play it a little bit tricky, it's not insane to call. It's actually a mixed bag in the live chat here too. So there isn't necessarily a consensus. You call, okay?
Yep, and the MP ends up overcalling. So we go 3 ways to turn.
MP overcalls. Well, that's interesting. I mean, that almost smells like someone's got a pair there. I don't know the MP, I would never expect the MP to overcall here with just a king all that much. The issue now, though, is that if the low jack doesn't have anything, remember we talked about the reason for calling is possibly the low jack, is trying to get you off of something, which again, isn't necessarily the type of board that I see a lot. But now that the other guy overcalls, unless he's the biggest clueless maniac, he's probably going to shut it down. And if he's got diamonds, he's going to take a card. So, it's weird because you call and the other guy overcalls, and now it's like naturally you're going to check the turn. But I feel like the low jack's he's going to check through a lot. So 150 call. Pot now is 7 70. Again, it's king of diamonds, king of clubs, three of diamonds, and hero has deceptively check called being the preflop raiser with ace of diamonds, king of hearts out of the straddle. Okay.
And the turn is the 8 of spades.
Well, any of these middling types of cards, any pair between fours and nine, anything that wouldn't raise preflop that's in there with a pocket pair could be in somebody's range here. Either from MP or the low jack, to be honest with you. MP overcalling, maybe, and low jack betting for protection. Well, honestly, I mean, maybe MP a little bit less fours and fives now that he overcalls, but then again, I mean, all the other cards, I mean, yeah, so if someone has a pair, just, now that the 8 comes, it's less likely that they have 8s full, sure. Turns the 8 of spades, okay.
And it checks through.
Checks through. Did you ever think about leading, by the way? I know it looks strange, but this is what's interesting is that you're like, all right, I'm going to call, play it a little bit deceptively. We all think the MP is going to do a lot of folding, not overcalling. Now the MP calls. So if you were to play this consistently, low jack bet, you called, and then MP was out of there, it makes sense. All right, we're going to continue with our plan, check turn. Now that the MP overcalled, for the reasons that I talked about, like a minute ago or two ago, that the low jack's going to just check through a bunch, you might actually lead out here on the turn because something unexpected happened on the turn, on the flop in terms of the MP overcalling. But you check. Did you ever consider leading out?
Yeah, a little. I think it's probably pretty minor. I think if I didn't have the ace of diamonds, I would maybe consider leading a little bit more. But I thought if someone had a king, they would continue here. So I just decided to check.
Well, you think the low jack's going to bet a king again, right? Which is true, right? And then it doesn't really look like the MP has much king X. I mean, I suppose it's possible. So hero checks, check through. And now it's 770 still. Okay.
And the river is a 4 of clubs. It was a brick.
All right. So now the river's a 4 of clubs. It got checked through on the turn. I assume that you're going to make some sort of value bet and maybe look to get called by like a busted flush draw or something like that.
Yeah, that was definitely an option. And like I said, it's probably pretty minor, but with me blocking the nut flush draw, which I think a lot of people are limping in with, I just thought there was a good chance that one of these players had a weak king, maybe like a low mid suited king 6, king 7, something like that. Something that they would value bet. So I was trying to go for the check raise with how deep we were as well.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I would just come out and bet. It doesn't seem like anybody has a king here really all that much. I would just try to get a crying call. It seems kind of tricky to me to go for a check raise here. And the problem is like so many people just, I mean, they're not going to bet. Well, first of all, they were limpers, right? So are they going to have like 9-9, something, are they even going to have 9-9? It's just going to get checked through. I think I just throw out like a modest bet here and try to get heroed. I think it's asking a lot to actually get somebody to bet and then successfully check raise. And by the way, too, the river being a 4 here, which is another one of those cards that I talked about, like 4s through 7s or 8s. If you lead the river and then get raised, you actually end up probably, even if you were to call, losing more if you're behind than actually going for a check raise and then have it getting shoved in your face. I mean, people say, well, I'm going to check raise for value. I mean, an expert player has the ability to check raise fold for value. I don't know what's going to happen. This could be one of those times, to be perfectly honest with you. Like if you somehow get a bet here, if you check and then you check raise and then somebody stuffs it back in your face, that is going to be very, very dicey. But besides that, I mean, we don't know if that's going to happen. I would have just kind of led, I would say medium size. I don't know how often someone's going to have a weak king here. Now, if someone is pot controlling a weak king like the low jack and you bleed for medium size, you probably will just get called. But a lot of times when I play things like this tricky, it kind of bites me in the ass. And again, you've got a guy that limped. You're not dealing with expert players here, Sam, just from the preflop configuration. It went limp. That's where I mean, maybe if you're playing someone against somebody tricky, you know what I mean? I mean, that's what I would use. But so what did you do here on the river?
I checked.
Okay. So you did decide to check. So hero checks. MP checks.
MP checks.
And okay.
Low jack bets 240.
And now the low jack bet's 240. So you do get a bet here from somebody. Well, I mean, you have to raise, right? I mean, you would think you would have to raise. I don't know if the low jack's going for thin value, but how can you not raise? So did you raise, Sam?
Yeah, I made it 1.2.
So hero raises to 1,200. 1,000 more. So you're only targeting a king here?
I think I'm mainly targeting a king, but also I think with the line as played, it's going to look very strange. I think, I could have some, flush, not flush draws that missed other hands. So I just think that with the line as I played, I need to make it really big and target king X and maybe some really non-believing sticky pairs.
I'm just trying to think of what the low jack bets here at the end. Because you might have like hands like jacks and queens here as well, even though you probably should be like leading those for. I'm just trying to get in the head of like somebody here, and people would like to check back here so much. I mean, I personally didn't think about going for this type of sizing. I mean, you go to 1,200. I was thinking about making it like 800, 900, but I can get on board with this. I can get on board with this. I guess the question just becomes the difference between like 800 and 1,200 is that what do you get more folds for 1,200? Sometimes we talk about the live, like a paradox in live poker, where when you make it larger, you get called just as often. When we talk about efficiencies in bluffing, well, this works to your advantage, right? Because if you had a situation where you made it 800 and you got called at the same frequency as you did for 1,200, then 1,200 is the sizing, right?
Exactly. And I think I had a pretty aggressive image. I'm a younger Asian guy, so I think that bigger sizing tends to work out better for me usually.
So you go to 1,200. I assume MP folds.
Yeah.
MP folds. And that now, I don't know what's going to happen, but what if this guy jams back over the top? He started with 4K. Like, you almost have to fold, right?
I'm versus this specific player, I'm snap folding.
Snap folding.
Yeah.
So this is a type of guy where she's never going to have a 3-bet bluff here.
It was a older lady,
right.
but she was super passive.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like I'm right on board with you here against that setup. This sounds like a very, very good setup to like make a chunky check raise fold if she comes back over the top, because she's not going to have the ability to 3-bet like 7, 8 of clubs, right, as bluff, right? Which is what you would want to do if you wanted to bluff with something here in the low jack spot. It would contain an 8. And the reason why that is because for the most part, you want to prevent you, Sam, from having like pocket 8s, unless you raise some of these like small pairs too out of the straddle against 2 limps. But all right, so you go to 1,200, MP folds.
And the low jack tanks for maybe a minute and actually flashes her cards to me. She has king jack offsuit.
Wow.
And she ends up making the call.
And calls. Oh God, I thought you were going to say fold. So you get the call. I mean, I assume if you bet like 300, she's probably just going to call on the river.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thoughtful line that worked out. I think it might be if you go back and look at this though, a lot of things had to happen for this to be, to end up working out that way. And I feel like if you just led, you might have, I mean, you got 150 on the flop and then you got 1,200 on the river, right? So you got 1,350. If you had started with a bet of like, even if it was kind of small, like 125, and then you got 2 calls and then you went like 300 to 400 and then you got 1 call, you could make a case that you would actually made more money by leading here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. As soon as she showed me the king jack, I was just kicking myself because one, I thought for sure a hand like that, king jack, king 10 would bet the turn, and then I could decide to check raise and go for stacks. But upon seeing how she played this hand, I think if I had just gone, like you said, bet, and size up on the turn and river, I think I would have gotten a little bit more.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Thank you very much for the call.